All right. So first thing, all right, to end our unit, essential question: how does geography lead to creation of civilization? Okay. Bell ringer for today. How did geography play a key role in the transition from hunter-gatherer nomads to civilizations? All right, give you guys about the next 5 minutes. All right. See, most of you are done writing. Who wants to answer for me? You can raise their hand and answer. All right, Gracie, go ahead.
Geographical features give them the resources necessary to be able to settle down and stay in one place instead of moving around being nomads.
All right, so geographical features give you the opportunity to stay in one place instead of roaming around. What are those geographical features?
Rivers.
Rivers, all right, that's one of them. Rivers. All right, what's the other one, Jonah? Mountains, all right, which create valleys. All right, so we have rivers and we have mountains that create valleys. What are some of these, the reasons why these rivers and these valleys were good ideas to settle here? Go ahead.
Because rivers provide transportation, food, and water.
All right, transportation, food, water. Go ahead.
The mountains provide protection.
Mountains provide protection. Protection from what?
Invaders.
Invaders is one. What's the other one, Devin? Invaders. Jonah?
Storms, like weather.
Weather, right? Weather. All right, invaders and weathers. All right, so we talked about the rivers. You have transportation, you have food, and you have water. All right? What does the water do for you? What was the one key thing that this water gave you these people learned how to do? Agriculture. Very good. Farming. All right? Farming lets you no longer have to move around to where the food is coming up at that time. Now you can create it on your own, create a surplus. Okay? Why is transportation important? What does transportation do for you?
Trade.
Trade. What does trade give you?
Cultural diffusion.
All right? Cultural diffusion. That's a big one. Cultural diffusion. Mixing about ideas. All right? What's another one trade gives you?
Different resources.
Different resources. I have cotton. I need bricks. What are we going to do? Trade them, right? I need these bricks. I have a surplus of cotton. We trade. What else? What does trade give you? Also, last one. When we talk about what's that E word when you're...
Economy.
Economy, right? A strong economy. Very good. Anybody have anything else they want to add to it? All right, very good. Get out your Indus River Valley guided notes that I gave you Friday. Who needs one? Just two on this one. Everybody else has? You need one. Guys, while you're taking these notes, answering these questions, does it help when I slow it down, or do you guys care? You know, I put it down to about 0.75 from his normal speed. I know he talks quick. Does it actually help or bring it down? Okay. I mean, I know, but God, if we put it down to 0.5, it sounds like a clown. All right, so this is going to be the last one that we talk about in the early River Valley civilizations, all right, the Indus and ancient China. Okay, so the last unit on this, then we'll move on to ancient Greece. Okay, so again, we're kind of looking at the same things. How does geography lead to creation of civilizations? Has a lot of the same context in this one. So again, take notes. We'll go over them when we get done.
It's rising as the day begins. Time for reflecting on family and friends.
Hey, what's up?
Geico Sequels. The savings keep on going.
Mr. Green, are you talking about me? Yes, I am talking about you, me from the past. I am telling you that one of the reasons we study history is so that you can be a less terrible boyfriend, but more on that momentarily. Today we're going to talk about civilizations, but in order to do that, we have to talk about talking about civilizations because it's a problematic word. So problematic, in fact, that I have to turn to camera 2 to discuss it. Certain conglomerations of humans are seen as civilizations, whereas, say, nomadic cultures generally aren't, unless you are, say it with me, the Mongols. By calling some groups civilizations, you imply that all other social orders are uncivilized, which is basically just another way of saying that they're savages or barbarians. Side note, originally Greek, the word barbarian denoted anyone who did not speak ancient Greek, because to the Greeks all other languages sounded like bar, 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 bar. So that is to say that we are all essentially barbarians, except for the classics majors, which is worth remembering when we're discussing civilizations. Civilizations are like most of the things we like to study. They're intellectual constructs. No one woke up in the city of Thebes in Egypt one morning and said, "What a beautiful morning. I sure am living at the height of Egyptian civilization." Still, they're useful constructs, particularly when you're comparing one civilization to another. They're less useful when you're comparing a civilization to a non-civilization type social order, which is why we will try to avoid that. And yes, I am getting to the good boyfriend stuff. Patience, grasshopper. So what is a civilization? Well, diagnosing a civilization is a little like diagnosing an illness. If you have 4 or more of the following symptoms, you might be a civilization. Surplus production. Once one person can make enough food to feed several people, it becomes possible to build a city, another symptom of civilization. It also leads to the specialization of labor, which in turn leads to trade. Like, if everybody picks berries for a living, there's no reason to trade, because I have berries and you have berries. But if I pick berries for a living and you make hammers, suddenly we have cause to trade. Civilizations are also usually associated with social stratification, centralized government, shared values, generally in the form of religion and writing. And at least in the early days, they were almost always associated with rivers. These days, you can just bisect a segment of land horizontally and vertically and boom, build a city. But 5,000 years ago, civilizations were almost always associated with rivers, whether that's the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Yellow River, the Nile, the Amazon Basin, the Coatzacoalcos. God, I was doing so good until I got to Coatzacoalcos. Coatzacoalcos, maybe. Why river valleys? They're flat, they're well watered, and when they nutrient-rich silt. We'll have more to say about most of these civilizations later, but let's talk about this guy, the Indus Valley Civilization, because it's my all-time favorite. The Indus Valley Civilization was located in the floodplain of the Indus and Sawardi rivers, and it was about the best place in the world to have an ancient civilization because the rivers flooded very reliably twice a year, which meant that it had the most available calories per acre of pretty much anywhere on the planet. We know the Indus Valley Civilization flourished a long time ago, probably around 3000 BCE. Why is that question literally hanging over my head? But people of the Indus Valley were trading with Mesopotamians as early as 3500 BCE. We also know that it was the largest of the ancient civilizations. Archaeologists have discovered more than 1,500 sites. So what do we know about this civilization? Let's go to the thought bubble. Everything we know about the Indus Valley Civilization comes from archaeology, because while they did use written language, we don't know how to read it, and no Rosetta Stone has thus far appeared to help us learn it. I meant the other Rosetta Stone thought bubble. Yeah, although come to think of it, either would be acceptable. So here's what we know. They had amazing cities. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are the best known, with dense, multi-story homes constructed out of uniformly sized bricks along perpendicular streets. I mean, this wasn't some ancient world version of Houston, more like Chicago. This means they must have had some form of government and zoning, but we don't know what gave this government its authority. Cities were oriented to catch the wind and provide a natural form of air conditioning. And they were clean. Most homes were connected to a centralized drainage system that used gravity to carry waste and water out of the city in big sewer ditches that ran under the main avenues, a plumbing system that would have been the envy of many 18th century European cities. Also, in Mohenjo-daro, the largest public building was not a temple or a palace, but a public bath, which historians call the Great Bath. We don't know what the Great Bath was used for, but since later Indian culture placed a huge emphasis on ritual purity, which is the basis for the caste system, some historians have speculated that the bath might have been like a giant baptismal pool. Also, they traded. One of the coolest things that the Indus Valley Civilization produced were seals used as identification markers on goods and clay tablets. These seals contain the writing that we still can't decipher and a number of fantastic designs, many featuring animals and monsters. One of the most famous and frightening is of a man with what looks like water buffalo horns on his head, sitting cross-legged between a tiger and a bull. We don't know what's really going on here, but it's safe to say that this was a powerful dude because he seems to be able to control the tiger. How did these seals let us know that they traded? Well, because we found them in Mesopotamia, not the Indus Valley. Plus, archaeologists have found stuff like bronze in the Indus Valley that is not native to the region. So what did they trade? Cotton cloth. Still such a fascinating export, incidentally, that it will be the subject of the 40th and final video in this very series. But here's the most amazing thing about the Indus Valley people. They were peaceful. Despite archaeologists finding 1,500 sites, they have found very little evidence of warfare and almost no weapons. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Okay, before we talk about the fascinating demise of the Indus Valley civilization, it's time for the open letter. Magic! I wonder what the secret compartment has for me today. Oh! Fancy clothes! I guess the secret compartment didn't think I was dressed up enough for the occasion. An open letter to historians. Dear historians, the Great Bath? Really? The Great Bath? I'm trying to make history fascinating and you give me a term that evokes scented candles, bath salts, and Frederick Fekkai hair products? I know sometimes the crushingly boring names of history aren't your fault. You didn't name the Federalist Papers or the Austro-Hungarian Empire or Adam Smith. But when you do get a chance to name something, you go with the Great Bath? Not the epic bath of Mohenjo-Daro, or the bath to end all baths, or the pool that ruled, or the moist mystery of Mohenjo-Daro, or the wet wonder, the Great Bath? Really? You can do better. Best wishes, John Green. So what happened to these people? Well, here's what didn't happen to them. They didn't morph into the current residents of that area of the world, Hindu Indians or Muslim Pakistanis. Those people probably came from the Caucasus. Instead, sometime around 1750 BCE, the Indus Valley civilization declined until it faded into obscurity. Why? Historians have three theories. One, conquest. Turns out to be a terrible military strategy not to have any weapons, and it's possible people from the Indus Valley were completely overrun by people from the Caucasus. Two, environmental disaster. It's possible they brought about their own end by destroying their environment. Three, earthquake. The most interesting theory is that a massive earthquake changed the course of the rivers so much that a lot of the tributaries dried up. Without adequate water supplies for irrigation, the cities couldn't sustain themselves, so people literally just picked up and left for greener pastures. Well, probably not pastures. It's unlikely they became nomads. They probably just moved to a different plane and continued their agricultural ways. I am already boring you, and I haven't even told you yet how to be a better boy and or girlfriend. I'm gonna do that now. So we don't know why the Indus Valley civilization ended, but we also don't really know why it started. Why did these people build cities and dig swimming pools and make unnecessarily ornate seals? Were they motivated by hunger, fear, a desire for companionship, the need to be near their sacred spaces, or city life was just more awesome than foraging? Thinking about what motivated them to structure their life as they did helps us to think about how we structure our own lives. In short, you're clingy because you're motivated by fear and a need for companionship. And she finds it annoying because it's enough work having to be responsible for herself without having to also be responsible for you. Also, you're not really helping her by clinging, and from the Indus Valley in the Bronze Age to school life today, human life is all about collaboration. Trading cloth for bronze, building cities together, and collaborating to make sure that human lives are tilted to catch the wind. Next week we will travel here to discuss the hot Mesopotamia, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, leave them in comments and our team...
Alright. So let's talk about these real quick. Somebody hit the lights for me, please. Whoever's up and closest. All right. Number one, where did the idea of barbarian come from? All right, the Greeks, anyone who didn't speak Greek, right? Anyone outside of their realm. Later on, it becomes associated with the Romans. The Roman Empire becomes so large, anyone who wasn't a Roman citizen or outside the Roman citizenship were called barbarians. All right? Describe at least 2 characteristics of civilization. Again, hopefully we should know because we went over 8, right? The anthropologically correct 8 for what a civilization should be. Taylor, give me one.
Centralized government.
All right, centralized government, or we call it complex, right? Centralized or complex government.
Surplus of food.
Surplus of food, not just having enough to survive for that day, enough to support a large population. Gracie?
Specialization of labor.
Specialization of jobs or labor, okay? You have this job to do. Once that's done, you're done. You have this job to do, okay? Devin? Trade. Okay, shared values, government, writing. All right, so whatever leads to their culture, religion. Anybody, anything else? Go ahead. All right, building of cities and structure, about art and architecture. Okay, building of cities. Did you have the same thing you had? Okay. Those are all very good. Most of you hit on almost all of the 8 that we talked about. Remember, religion is a big one too. All right, but not just religion. What kind of religion? Just like government, it has to have what? Complex. Yes, very good. All right. Why was the Indus River civilization the best place to have a civilization, Casey? All right, because of the river and its reliable flooding. All right, just like the others that we talked about, it has reliable flooding because of this river. What's the one that we talked about that doesn't have reliable? It's unpredictable flooding. Anybody? All right, what is it? Mesopotamia. Unpredictable. We don't know when it's going to flood. All right, this one had predictable flooding. How do we know this was a large river valley civilization? Go ahead, Gracie.
Archaeologists finding
All right, what did they find? You are correct. Archaeologists found these. Go ahead.
1,500 sites.
Over 1,500 sites. Okay, so large sites. Large number of sites. What are Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro?
Cities, the resident cities of Indus River civilization.
Okay, so the biggest, most complex cities of the Indus River Valley civilization. So think about kind of like he put in there about Chicago. Like they're the Chicago and New York of the Indus River Valley civilization. All right, it shows you what all these things it has. It goes to one of those 8 criteria. What does it show you having these cities and all things they had?
Complex government.
Complex government. Very good, Jonah. A complex government. To be able to have all these things, you have to have this tier, right, of all the people that are working. What advancement these cities have? Taylor?
Plumbing.
Plumbing is one of them, right? Plumbing. They let gravity do the work, taking the waste out of the city. All right, plumbing. Jonah?
They built their cities to be with the wind.
Okay, so it's like kind of like a natural air conditioning. All right, it had the windows facing where the wind was blowing, so the wind would come through as natural air conditioning. What else? So we have plumbing, sewer system. Go ahead. All right, so right, buildings on top of each other, kind of like skyscrapers of the ancient world, right? Very good. Go ahead, Casey.
Very clean.
Very clean. All right, kept clean. How were the streets laid out? Does anybody remember that part? Huh?
Perpendicular?
Yes, and grids, right? So it's not just like things are everywhere, right? They're laid out in perpendicular grids. Very good. How do the seals reveal that the Indus River Valley traded? Go ahead, Bailey.
Because they found them in Mesopotamia.
Yes, they found them in Mesopotamia, so they know that they had to travel there. They also found copper in the Indus, which wasn't native to that area. Is that what you're going to say? Okay, very good. How do we know that the Indus people were peaceful? Go ahead.
It's their signs of not a lot of war, and they barely had any weapons.
Signs of very little warfare and no weapons. Okay? Very little warfare and no weapons. What is the one reason historians give for the fading out of the Indus River Valley civilization? Go ahead. Conquest is one of them, right? He said in there, it's probably not good government planning to not have a military. Gracie?
A massive earthquake rerouted
Yeah, massive earthquake could have basically drained up the tributaries, and there's no way for them to grow any agriculture. What's the last one? Environmental disasters. All right. Last one. What is human life all about then and now?
We don't have that much.
We don't have that one? Okay, is that one cut off? Collaboration. All right, collaboration. But anyway, you don't have to write that one down. Forgot we stopped at 9. Okay, so any questions, comments, concerns about that? Yes, go ahead.
We have a question that says,
Yeah, how is this ethnocentric? We can talk about that later because we didn't hit much. Do we hit much on ethnocentricity? All right, because we did, because of the snow day, we talked about that with my first period. What do you think ethnocentric means?
only present in that ethnicity.
Right, of that type of people, okay? So putting these words together, centric, like heliocentric, centric means what? Center, all right? Ethno, what's that word mean? Ethnic, right? So the center of that, your world, right, is your ethnicity. You're better than everybody, all of that, okay? So who thinks they can answer that? How is this term ethnocentric, having barbarians? Gracie, go ahead and answer. Right, okay, so if you're not Greek, right, if you're not ethnically Greek, you're not good, right? You're somebody who doesn't speak right, doesn't have the right religion, doesn't have the right technology. Go ahead.
It was different for every civilization.
Okay.
What you thought of a barbarian was different for like the king.
Exactly. Yeah, very good. Hey, if you're not part of us, right, you're less than us. All right? So it even leads to, when we talk about the United States of America, this idea of racism, right? I mean, not just America has racism, but everywhere. All right? So it's this idea of ethnocentrism. If you are not us, you are less than us. All right? Does that make sense? All right. Very good. Any other thing? That's good. All right. Second thing we're going to do, Blue Book, page 27. You guys are going to have 25 minutes to do that. When you get your Blue Book, go ahead and get your Chromebook and put that under your seat because you'll need that for your quiz at the end. All right, so we don't have to get up and mess around twice. Go ahead and get both of those. If you need a sheet to answer your Blue Book work, your graphic organizer, and your 8 questions, come see me. I gave them to you Friday. All right, but if you have lost them, come see me and I'll give you one. Guys, and these are going in your notebook for your notebook check Friday. Okay, so both of these, at the end, you can hole punch them and they're going in your notebook. For last week, we can do that today before we take our quiz, or I'm going to give you guys till tomorrow. Okay, so if you're ready for it, at the end you can show me. All right, guys, hurry up. We only got a finite amount of time. 17. Sorry, I think I might have said 27, but I meant 17. Taylor, do you have your sheet?
What number are you? Oh, no, yeah,
I did, yes. It was an accident. It was. I meant to trim, and then I got a little smaller than I thought, so I had to shave it off. I look like a 12-year-old now. 17. 17. I think I put 27 down, but I was looking at the back pages where the questions are. All right, so it's actually 17. All right, make sure we're working diligent. I want to about 11-ish, all right? Around 11 o'clock. 11:05 at the latest. Shouldn't be that much. You just have a graphic organizer at the front, 8 questions at the back. What is it asking you to do for the organizer?
Just list.
Yes, all right. List different institutions that were developed, and the first column is India, second one's China, all right? 17. So, I mean, that's just the same thing, so we start there. There we go.
Oh.
So 18 is where you start reading, but... Guys, give you guys about 5 more minutes. All right, 5 more minutes. Try to finish up. Don't rush, but All right, so I see a lot of you are done or close to finishing up. If you are not completely finished, you have until when to finish this? Friday. All right, it's going to be in your notebook check. I put 1.7 and 1.3 when everything is due, so when everybody turns their notebook for the first one, I'll erase that and put the second one. So you have until Friday, okay? But I see a lot of you are pretty close to finishing up anyway. So let's talk about this. Again, give me about 5 minutes. Go over it quickly. We're not going to do the graphic organizer just yet. I'll look at that Friday. Let's go with the 8 questions. Early civilization in South Asia. Why do archaeologists think organized governments, all right, we talked about complex, right, same thing, organized or complex governments planned Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro? Gracie, what do you think?
They had wide streets, strong building materials, and complex plumbing systems.
All right, very good. Okay, so they had wide streets, complex plumbing systems, all of this. All right, so we can see that it was planned out, right? All right, so we can see that it wasn't just somebody saying, "Hey, let's build this city," right? Let's just do what we can to build this city. It was somebody's in charge, right? And somebody's giving jobs to someone else. Okay, so there's that tier system that we talked about. So you can see that it's a planned, organized government because of all the things that they had. What's the Vedas? What are the Vedas, Taylor?
A collection of hymns with religious instructions.
All right, very good. So kind of like their version of a holy book, right? Like Christians have the Bible, Judaism has the Torah, Muslims have the Quran. All right, so Vedas is a collection of holy scriptures, texts, things like that. The origins of Hinduism and Buddhism. How does reincarnation relate to Moksha? What are those two things, first of all? Go ahead.
Moksha is like, it's whenever you come in union with Garam.
Yes. All right. So reach enlightenment, right? So you come in union with that when your body, when your soul reaches this enlightenment. So that's Moksha. What's reincarnation?
Reincarnation is the belief that when you die, you come back as like someone else or something else.
Okay. So you never really... it's kind of like, well, I mean, you do die, but you keep coming back, all right? So, and there's no, like, version of heaven and hell, right? Your heaven and hell can be, if you were good, what happens to you?
You get to go to a higher level.
Yeah, a higher level of social class or something cool, right? If I help out with the homeless and do good things in my life, I might come back as a pro basketball player or like a tiger or something, right? Something cool. All right, if I'm knocking old people down and kicking puppies, what am I going to come back as? Like a slug, right? Or something like that. All right, so again, so how do they relate? How does reincarnation, this idea of dying and coming back to something else, relate to reaching enlightenment? Jonah, let's go with you.
If you were good enough and got high enough, you would eventually reach him and be one of them.
Okay, so basically that goes into, you can't reach it in one lifetime, right? Is that, oh, go ahead. Is that what you're going to say? You can't reach it in one lifetime. You can't reach this idea of enlightenment, becoming unified. So what's it going to take? Several lifetimes, right? Several lifetimes. Okay, so that's how they react with one another. It takes you several lifetimes, reincarnation, to reach Moksha, this idea of enlightenment. How does Buddhism differ from Hinduism? Gracie, let's see what you got.
Buddhism teaches people to seek enlightenment personally rather than through priests or gods.
All right, very good. So Hinduism's like a bunch of other religions that say, for you to be good, right, for you to do good things, for you to actually be good in our religion, you have to pray to gods, believe in God, something like that. You need their help. Buddhism says what? What'd you say, Gracie? What does Buddhism say?
Just you reach enlightenment personally.
You can do it yourself, right? You don't need gods. That you doing all these things that we ask you to do, you can reach what these other religions tell you can reach through God, you can reach it on your own. Powerful empires emerge in India. How did Buddhism influence Osaka's rule? Go ahead.
You ruled by moral example.
Ruled by moral example. What is a moral? What if you're moral, right? Standards you have, right? Values. Okay, so if I'm moral, I'm doing something good. All right, if you have bad morals, you're doing something bad. So if Bailey's walking in front of me and $100 bill falls out of her pocket, what am I doing if I have good morals? Giving it back to her, right? Hey, you dropped this. If I have bad morals, what am I doing? Hey, I got lunch for the next couple weeks, right? All right, I'm rich $100. All right, so Buddhism teaches you to live by good morals. All right, and that's how Osaka had his rule. What were some of the advances of the Gupta dynasty? Okay, so they gave the villages more power. Instead of centralized at the very top, they gave their smaller villages power to kind of rule over themselves. What was the first one you said? Advances in math. All right, so they had a lot of advances in math and giving people self-rule, basically. Somebody else have their hand up? Go ahead. Yes, you can. Yes. What was the focus of Confucius' teachings? Go ahead. Respect your parents. All right, that was one of his main ones. Respect your elders and your parents.
He just all over wanted social order and good government.
Social order and good government. Okay, that's one of his main things. Is what he taught on is how to have good governments. All right, a lot of it by doing moral things and social order. Okay, not everyone running amok and having chaos. What impact did iron tools have on China? This is a big one. It kind of goes back to this idea of geography. Go ahead.
It made farming more productive and the population increased.
Yes, made farming more productive. All right, because it's that idea of technology. What is technology? Yes, things that make your life easier. That's anything. So these iron tools made their life easier, made agriculture easier. By that way, they could support a larger population.
I was going to say causing them to have a monopoly.
Okay, in this farming techniques and trade, right? All right, very good. Anything else before we move on? Okay, go ahead and put that up. Again, you'll need to work on this. You can come to Smart Period, work on your own. If you need help, again, show up Smart Period. What's ours, Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. So show up Tuesday if you need help with this or you just need somewhere quiet to do work. Keep your blue books right now so we can just keep rolling. We are going to do a few minutes of some DBQs about geography. So what you guys are going to do is kind of your 10-2s, think, pair, share. Who's done this before? We've done think, pair, shares. All right. So I'm going to put a question up here. All right, you're going to have just a little bit of time to think about it on your own and write down your answer. Then you're not getting up and moving, just the person next to you. You are going to discuss your answer. All right? What's the key concept to that? Why is it good to discuss what you think you have?
You can change your answer.
You can change it. Why?
Because they might have pointed at something else.
Yeah, they might have thought something you didn't, or you could be way off base. Well, I think this, and then you hear somebody else answer like, whoa, yours sounds a lot better. I had no idea. All right? So I'll give you guys a minute to discuss it between each other, and then we will share out loud. Got it? All right, so you're going to need your own sheet of paper. Go ahead and get that and get started. Getting your paper out, pencil or pen. Whatever you feel comfortable, right? If you need one, I have one up here. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, first question. Here are some examples: Old Stone Age, Middle Stone Age, New Stone Age. Okay. Question. Identify one way in which animals affected the way people lived in the Stone Age. All right, so how did animals affect the way people lived? That's the question. So, get your answer from this. We'll move quickly. So how did animals affect the way people lived? All right. Discuss it with your partner. Go. Somebody near you.
Are we just talking about the old Stone Age?
No, just the Stone Age in general. So,
See, I went from
old, middle, or new.
that, and then I'm gonna put that in my and then put
All right. Who can share? Who wants to share something? Go ahead, Devin.
It was free labor and food.
Okay, so we have labor and food. All right.
If they stayed in one place or moved around.
Okay, very good. So determining if we're going to stay put because we're domesticating them, right? We raised them, we domesticated them. We don't have to follow them around like the nomads did for our food. Go ahead, Jonah.
Companionship and hunting partners.
All right, so companionship, again, we talk about dogs, okay, and hunting. Go ahead. Clothes, all right, that gives us something to protect ourselves. It's still an idea of technology, wool and animal skin to sew together to make clothing. It also can be done for what? When we make something, what can we do with it? Trade it, right? Trade it. Resources or something else. All right, also raised animals, that's a big one. When you raise animals, all right, it gives you, just like agriculture, learning to have agriculture, you have a surplus. All right, when you can raise animals, you can have a surplus of it. So again, that adds to this idea of civilization. Good?
Yeah.
All right, physical map of China. Answer this question. You have about a minute on your own. What physical features prevented China from having contact with other cultures? All right, so look at this. We did the maps of the 4 earlier. All right, and you had to see mountains and all of that stuff on it, the topographic map. All right, so answer this question. What physical features prevented China from having contact with other cultures? Go ahead, get started. Yangtze, yellow, this right here.
The one that's up in the It's right below the Golden Desert.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Yes, it's H. That's the Yangtze. You say yellow. Yellow River.
Right.
All right, discuss it. Partner, go. Yeah, we kind of skipped over China real quick, but this river was one of the ones that was actually barely devastated. It did help, right, like all the other rivers did, but it also flooded and destroyed the water. So they made technology trying to have dams now, they kind of make dams a little bit, but this one was kind of like flooded every 4 or 5 years and actually wiped out everything. So it was advantages to this one. All right, who can share? Who can share what they got besides Devin? All right, go ahead. All right, quiet down, guys. Let's go ahead and move on. What do we got?
I said mountains and deserts.
All right, mountains and deserts. Very good. We got mountains, all right, to the south and west. All right, we got some mountains and deserts up top in the north. Okay, what do we have, though, that's preventing it to the east? All right, ocean, right? Yellow Sea, which goes into the Pacific Ocean. All right, so this time, were they really great at sailing and things like that? No. So they still weren't going anywhere to the east. Okay? So that's what prevented China from having contact with other cultures. Do you think this made them ethnocentric?
I bet.
Probably so, right? If we can use our deductive reasoning, and we'll learn about that in different units when we go farther into China, this idea that because they couldn't go out, okay, it made them more ethnocentric, all right, isolationism. So do you think that they relied on trading, all right, getting resources they don't have? Probably not, all right? Not so much because they wanted to, but because these physical features kept them from. So they had to do everything themselves. Things they needed, they had to produce themselves, okay? All right, so...
Trade obviously wasn't.
Huh?
Trade wasn't really.
No, trade wasn't really something they could do. Later on, the Silk Road, yes, because people learned how to navigate. All right, when we're talking about early times, you couldn't really go across the desert and mountains. All right, Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a leader of in Mesopotamia. All right, Gilgamesh is a leader in Mesopotamia. He built a wall around his city to make it safe against attack. Its pinnacles shone like brass. Its outer surface was armored with stone cladding. Every brick had been hardened into fire. The people of Earth groaned beneath the burden of building of the wall, for Gilgamesh drove them on without pity. The drums that summoned the people to work were sounded without pause, so that the son had no time to spend with his father, nor the lover with his lady. All right, this is part of the Gilgamesh epic. It's an excerpt. All right, so part of it. Why did Gilgamesh build a wall around his city? All right, write it down yourself. Go ahead. This one should be quick. Give you about a minute to do this. Why does Gilgamesh build a wall around his city? This one actually takes you need to know a little bit, remember what we talked about, Mesopotamia. Remember, what do rivers and valleys give you? Okay, so remember what they didn't have. So why do they need this? So let's see, most people done writing, so either this was very simple or we're kind of stuck on this one. All right, so talk with your neighbor real quick. It is, but why?
There's another reason.
Remember why? You're correct. Why?
They get to work on other stuff rather than have to work on one thing.
No, I mean you're on the right track with why. That is for protection. But remember, what does Mesopotamia not have that the other ones do?
Boundaries.
Natural. Use another word. They are boundaries, but barriers. Very good. Okay, guys, who wants to share? Who wants to share? Somebody else, you just already went, but good. I'm glad you know.
I will go.
Casey, what do you got?
To protect enemies.
All right, to protect from enemies. All right, which is exactly what I told them they were asking about. They said the exact same thing. Protect from enemies. Why? What does Mesopotamia not have? Go ahead.
They didn't have mountains.
They didn't have mountains, which we call natural barriers, right? So that was one of the things of the RVCs that we talked about, the four that we've talked about. Mesopotamia doesn't have mountains, which act as natural barriers. So there in our notes that I made you take, what was one of the things that they did to kind of help this? They built man-made barriers. What's a man-made barrier?
A wall.
A wall. All right, very good. We're going to do one more. All right, one more, and then we are going to get your quiz started.
I don't think we need much to
All right. Geography of the ancient Middle East. Use information from the map to explain why civilizations arose in Mesopotamia. Okay? So write this down. Write it on your answer. I'll give you guys about a minute. You don't want to hurry up and try to get through this one. So this question right here is basically for our central question for this unit. How does geography lead to creation of civilization? This right here. This one asks specifically about Mesopotamia. But if you can answer this one, you can answer the other ones. Egypt, Indus, China. All right, why do people settle here? All right, talk with your partner. Go.
Fertile land because it's like fertile soil for farming, but also trade throughout two rivers.
All right. Who can discuss it? Who can share it with me? Why? All right, go ahead.
They had a fertile crescent.
Fertile crescent, right? So what does a fertile crescent do? Raise your hand.
It has land good for farming. So you
Land
have
good for
surplus.
farming. Surplus of food. Very good. So river, all right, gives you flooding, which gives you fertile soil, which lets you be able to grow food. And when you can grow food in one place, you don't have to do what anymore? You don't have to be nomads. You don't have to roam. All right. So when you don't have to roam anymore, you have a surplus of food. You can start building cities, right? Permanent settlements. These permanent settlements get bigger. You learn to do other things. Leads to these 8 criteria: job specification, complex government, complex religion. What's arts and architecture? Okay. Does everybody get it? Got it? Good. Okay. Open up your Chromebooks. All right. Make sure you guys put this stuff up. Yes. You can if you want to, but I want you to get your Chromebook open. To Classroom. It's not on there yet. When everybody's opened up, we'll get started.
What's it about?
It's about all of them. It's about early River Valley civilizations. Okay? So, guys, there are 10 questions to it. Okay? If you do not make at least an 80, you are coming to me for smart period. I know, life is hard.
Is it a hard test?
Huh?
Is it a hard test?
I don't think so.
Are these just database questions?
No, they are multiple choice.
Like 100.
All right, is everybody on?
Yeah.
Who is not on yet? Who's still? It's fine if you are. I know. All right.
Where did my computer go? Over there. Where you supposed to be?
All right. 10 questions. All right, multiple choice. If you do not make at least an 80 is a what? B. Okay. They're all about geography, how they led to civilization. If you do not make a B, you're coming to me for smart period. Got it?
Okay.
So that means 8 out of 10. If you do not get 8 out of 10 of them correct, you will see me at smart period. Is everybody in now? What? What does acting up mean? I don't know what. Come here. Grab another one then. Grab one at the bottom. Is everybody ready? Besides Makai?
Yes.
All right, we'll go ahead and start. Makai, you get logged in. It shouldn't take very long. All right, I'm going to post it. All right, so you might need to refresh that window. It's the first thing on there, RBC quiz. Again, when you are done, it'll send your grade right to me. I know it's right. Guys, I actually messed up on one of them. I don't know why when I was going through there, hurrying, I guess, I clicked. So if it says you got wrong on the one about settling in valleys, hopefully you know you didn't. I'll look at it, but I messed up on that one. Well, if you didn't care that much to think about it, then it doesn't matter. I'll look at it. So it's not like you can redo it. When you get done, you can go ahead and log off. Put your Chromebook up and sit quietly. Go ahead and start packing up and get ready to go. To give everybody else their chance to finish so we're not talking, Devin. Guys, when I said don't talk, I meant everybody. Right now. I gotta wait. I'll let you
Yeah.
The last one said like oceans to the east, desert to the west, but desert was like northwest.
That's fine, but still, it's
Well, like
still to the west.
I know, but like
It's still to the west. This is the one you should have known. All right, where is the ocean to?
the east.
All right, so which one gave you those two answers?
So there's just this one.
Well, that one and
And
this
that
one,
one, but that
that's
one's
also not
wrong.
to the west.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like, but like it wasn't specific. So I said none of the above because
Oh my God, what did you even make?
69,999. It's because it's because I was being too literal.
I'll think about giving you credit for it. I will think about it.
Because and also this
I
one.
will think about it. I know that one. I've already told everybody you weren't paying attention. All right, guys, you can go ahead and start packing up your stuff. Guys, make sure the Chromebooks are plugged in. I don't know, some of them aren't even